this right here.
Okay.
This is a test. How now, Oliver?
Did you say something?
I did. Well, I'm just going to fix it live. All right.
Daria.
Good morning and welcome to Live Oak. Please rise in body or spirit for our gathering hymn, number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
Good morning and welcome, beloved community. I'm Reverend Joanna. In this sacred space, we gather as one, celebrating the tapestry of our diversity, honoring the boundless love that unites us all. Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church is unambiguously, unapologetically progressive, and our doors swing wide to embrace all who seek a welcoming place, where we celebrate the LGBTQIA+ community, where we know that every identity is a divine expression of humanity, where we commit to the work of dismantling systemic racism and other oppressions, striving for a world where equity, compassion, and justice are the cornerstones of our shared existence. May our worship today be a source of inspiration, a wellspring of courage, and a call to action. Welcome, dear friends, to this place of love, acceptance, and progress.
Yeah. My name is Lindy Dower, and I want to give a special welcome to any visitors we have today in person or online. Hi. If you haven't already, I encourage you to stop by our visitors table out in the narthex after the service to sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's an email. And so we can meet you and answer any questions you may have. There's a lot going on in this church, so I recommend signing up for that email newsletter. Unitarian Universalism is a non-creedal faith. There are no doctrines you have to agree with in order to belong. Instead, we are held together by covenant, our promises to each other in this church and within our religious tradition. Please join me in these words from our historic faith. Love is the spirit of this church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. We unite with UU churches around the world by lighting our flaming chalice, the symbol of our religion. Today, Apollo will be lighting our chalice. Here and at home, we light it today with these words. We light this chalice in honor of the courage of those who have struggled for freedom, the persistence of those who have struggled for justice, and the love of those who've built beloved communities to carry on the light of hope. In the search for justice, may we be loving, and in loving, may we all find peace.
So today is a special day in the life of our congregation. We are being transformed as we welcome new members. And these are new members who are going to bring new ideas, new desires, new energies, and new opportunities to us. And we're going to share our ideas, desires, energies, and projects with them. Our covenant securely grounds us, but it also resonates with new life. As George Kimmel Beach put it, people don't join a covenanted community, rather they constitute it. There is no it without them, and each time that new folks join, the whole is literally reconstituted. I'm going to ask our Mike Inyart, our representative from the membership team, to come forward.
Hi. Good morning. Yeah, I like that part. Each of the following people has completed all of the necessary requirements to become a member of Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. It is with joy that I invite up onto this chancel the following people. Colleen Berry. Hey, Colleen. Celeste Elson. Sophie Reynolds. Melissa Zorotny. And Mark Zorotny.
Today, the identity of all of our members, old and new, is changing. This congregation gets a new identity because you will change us. We are now your church, and you change because you now add a member of Live Oak to who you are. Simply put, with these promises we make to each other, you become ours and we become yours. And I believe we have words for this. Yes, will the members of our congregation please rise either in body or in spirit and join me in our words of commitment. We, the members of Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church, welcome you into membership. We promise to walk along with you in your spiritual journey, to work together with you to strengthen this liberal religious community, and to make our vision for a just and peaceful world come alive. Seated. And will the new members please say your words? Pledge. Let us welcome these new members into our fold. Let us give them the best of our tradition, who we have been and who we are today, but let us also open ourselves to the ways in which they are going to teach and transform us and share in the construction of the community that together we are becoming. Now, neither churches nor their members are perfect. Hate to break it to you. If you hang around here long enough, one of two things, and possibly both, may happen to you. Eventually, the church may disappoint you, or you may disappoint the church. A time may come when we fail to act or respond to something that you are sure we should have. A time may come when there is something that you can't do that the church asks of you. And it's not that what happened isn't important, it is, but what's most important is what happens next. As long as we live in covenanted community seeking right relationship, our commitment to each other will be strengthened and we will grow as individuals and as a healthy community.
We have a gift bag for each family or new member. Inside your gift bag, you will find a small chalice. It's like a real mini version of that over there. At Live Oak, it is important that what happens here does not stay here. We hope that you will find ways to keep the chalice burning bright in your home and in your heart. Here comes the gift bags. When you've received your gift bag, you can exit the stage to your right. And the rest of us.
Or you can go ahead and she'll give you down there. And the rest of us will give heartfelt applause. For the past 31 years, Live Oak has been a beacon of acceptance, love, and inclusivity in an area where our values often challenge the status quo. In a world where divisiveness and intolerance seem to grow stronger, we firmly believe in the transformative power of our faith and the positive impact that we are having in our area. We invite you to make a financial contribution to help sustain the church's vital work, knowing that every gift, large and small, is appreciated and carefully used in service to our mission. And if you would like to donate electronically, there's a card with a QR code in the seat back pockets. Every week we share what is given with an organization whose works reflect our own UU values. This month we are giving to Drive a Senior Northwest, and our member, Hella Hollebeck, will tell us more about that.
Thank you. A few months ago, Reverend Joanna mentioned in my presence that we should suggest organizations where we are volunteers for consideration for the collection for Share the Plate. And so I suggested Drive a Senior Northwest. I have been a volunteer there for the past 8 years. I found out about them because they had their office in my neighborhood, and it seemed like the sort of thing I could do. They offered me volunteer job with totally flexible hours and really were asking only for one commitment a month. I thought, I can do that. Of course, I became much more involved over the years, and it's something that I have enjoyed. So basically what we do or did, I'm not a member anymore, we provide rides to our elderly neighbors who are living either by themselves or don't have daytime caretakers, mostly for doctor's offices, but also going to the grocery store, going to the beauty shop, anything that needed. They can ask for maximally 2 rides a week. And one of our most common customers are dialysis patients. If you're on dialysis, you need to go out there 3 times a week. Usually it's a split shift because it takes several hours, so that takes a lot of volunteers. The volunteers provide their own cars, pay for their own gasoline, and are trying to be as helpful as possible. Everybody's always very nice, very friendly. The riders are appreciative. It is a good job, something that I could really recommend for anybody who wants to do something a little bit more to serve the community. They have a total of about 450 clients here, serving Northwest Austin, Cedar Park, and Leander. There are other groups in the city that serve different other parts. So more or less the whole city is covered in groups like this, except we are Northwest, and so that's what we're dealing here with. They have about 150 volunteers, always looking for more, and they provide an average of 700 rides a month. That is a really important help for our neighbors, and it's given gladly and appreciated. They have been in existence for about 38 years, and well, going strong, no plans of going away. Obviously, transportation is enormously important. If you don't have a car, you cannot drive, it's easy to imagine how being stuck in the house can be difficult. After being a volunteer there for 8 years, as I said, I'm now not driving anymore, so I'm going to be a very grateful client. So I encourage you to donate generously and maybe consider becoming a volunteer. Thank you.
And I would add that my mother is also a client, and she very much appreciates this service. Let this time of offering be a reflection of our shared commitment to making a positive impact on the world, and a reminder that our Unitarian Universalist values guide us not only in our beliefs, but in our actions. And thank you for your presence here today and your contributions to our ongoing journey of building the beloved community here and in our wider parish.
Song Good morning. I wonder what we're going to do today. Milo imagines the world. I want to share this book with you. Do you see the little black notebook in the picture? That's an artist's sketchbook. Milo is an artist. Here's one of Milo's pictures. Does a pretty good job, huh? Yeah. Milo Imagines the World is written by Matt de la Pina, one of my favorite children's authors. And here we see Milo and somebody walking down into the subway to catch the train. What begins as a slow, distant glow grows and grows into a tired train that clatters down the tracks. A cool rush of wind quiets into the screech of steel, and when the doors slide open, Milo slips aboard. The train bucks back into motion, and he and his sister squeeze into bench seats. The whiskered man beside Milo has a face of concentration. A businessman has a blank, lonely face. The wedding-dressed woman near the far door has a face made of light, while the dog peeking out of her handbag has no face at all, just a long, lolling tongue. These monthly Sunday subway rides are never ending, and as usual, Milo is shook up soda. Wow, I wonder what that feels like. Excitement stacked on top of worry, on top of confusion, on top of love. To keep himself from bursting, he studies the faces around him and makes pictures of their lives. At a downtown stop, the whiskered man folds up his crossword and hurries off the train. Milo imagines him trudging through brown mounds of slush. It's a 5-flight climb to his cluttered apartment, where he's greeted by mewing cats and burrowing rats. Parakeets tweet songs of longing as the man sips tippet soup, hunched over a game of solitaire. Late that night, the door to the parakeet cage mysteriously falls open, and the cats gather on the cold sill to watch the birds fly free above the city. Milo tugs his sister's sleeve and holds up his picture, but even when she turns to look, he can tell she doesn't see. She's a shook-up soda can, too. A boy in a suit boards the train with his dad. His hair has a perfect part, and there's not a single scuff on his bright white Nikes. Milo imagines the clop, clop, clop of the horse-drawn carriage that will carry him to his castle. Imagines the clink, clink, clink of the guards slowly lowering the drawbridge. And across the human-made moat, the boy is met by a butler, 2 maids, a gourmet chef offering crust-free sandwiches. Milo flips to a fresh page at the bustling Midtown stop when the wedding-dressed woman full of light strides off the train and a band of street performers launches into "Here Comes the Bride," and everyone on the platform applauds and cheers. Milo imagines the grand cathedral ceremony where the couple will be pronounced husband and wife. He imagines the groom whisking his new bride to an awaiting hot air balloon where the pilot loads them in with blankets and blasts the heat, and up, up, up they go hand in hand beyond the concrete walk of the city into the infinite blue. Milo holds up this picture too, but his sister shakes him away. "Can't you see I'm playing my game?" He watches her thumbs bang around on the smudged screen, and then he turns back to the boy in the suit. They lock eyes for a few seconds, and suddenly it feels like the walls are closing in around Milo. The spell is broken when a crew of breakers bound into the train announcing, "You all ready for a show?" Several curious faces look up as the beat drops, And now the girls are walking up walls, and they're whirling on poles, and they're backflipping over shopping bags. And when the train pulls into the next stop, they collect a few dollars and scramble to another car. Milo imagines them going from train to train, doing their act as everyone watches. But even after the performances are over, faces still follow their every move when they walk down the electronics aisle at the department store. When they cross into the fancy neighborhood, Milo doesn't really like this picture. And he scribbles all over it and turns to his reflection in the window instead. What do people imagine about his face? Can they see him reading his volcano poem to the class? Can they hear his mom's soothing voice reading him a bedtime book over the phone? Can they smell the chili Colorado bubbling in a pot in his auntie's apartment near the cemetery? Butterflies flood Milo's stomach when it's finally their stop. He follows his sister into the cold station platform and up the stairs. Above the ground, he's surprised to see the boy in the suit a few paces ahead. He's even more surprised when the boy joins the long line to pass through the metal detector. Milo's sister suddenly bends to give him a hug. "I didn't mean to snap at you." She takes his hand, adding, "You have your picture ready?" And he nods, feeling the warmth of her fingers. As they slowly shuffle forward, Milo studies the boy in the suit, his dad rubbing his thin shoulders, and a thought occurs to him. Maybe you can't really know anyone just by looking at their face. Milo tries to imagine all the pictures he made that day on the train. Maybe he could have done it like this instead, with a man with a family having a lovely meal with a happy bird, or this, maybe two people who aren't the same sex being in love and getting married, or maybe instead of being watched or afraid, being welcomed home. Milo's chest fills with excitement when he spots his mom through the crowd. His sister rushes to give her a hug before pulling Milo in too. And it's this tight tangle of familiar arms, this is where he feels most alive. When they separate, Milo flips through his pad until he finds the right picture. "I made this for you," he says, and he holds it up and he gives it to his mom, and he watches for the smile he hopes will spread across her face. Do you think she'll be happy when she gets the picture? Yeah. And there's the picture. Milo pictures them sitting on the stoop on a beautiful day under the tree. This book was written for Miguel de la Pina and for those who have to imagine beyond, who dare to imagine beyond the first impression, and for the children and inner children who see themselves in this book. And with this, our story is told.
Please rise now, as you are willing and able, for hymn number 155, Circle Round for Freedom.
So before I do a more formal introduction of our guest today, who I am so incredibly proud to have here, I want to introduce Marci Marie to you the way hundreds of thousands have been introduced to her, and that's through some of her social media videos, which for me were happening, no surprise, on TikTok. And I believe a couple of years ago, the first videos that I began seeing of Marci Marie were actually cooking videos, but a different kind of cooking videos.
Hey y'all, let's make some prison scallop potatoes. Okay y'all, I'm gonna use jalapeno cheese, salt and pepper, cheese puffs, and for our potatoes, ruffled potato chips, the cheap brand, right? Okay, I put our cheese sauce mixture to the side, and now we have to take some potato chips, and this is a bowl of water, y'all. We're just gonna let the chips soak up the water. We're just gonna hydrate the potatoes, right? Okay, y'all, it took about 5 minutes for our potatoes to hydrate, so I'm just gonna mix the cheese sauce mixture that we had prepared with it. I'm just gonna mix all the potatoes up with that cheese mixture. Okay, so our scalloped potatoes are in the chip bag. I tied it off with a hair tie. If I were still incarcerated, I would put these in my hot pot and cook them for about 10 minutes. But today I'm just gonna use the stove top and put them in some hot water, and we'll see how they turn out. Okay, I think our potatoes are done.
Okay, so it was videos like that that first introduced me to this amazing woman, and of course I was like, wait, what? Huh? And then, because of the magic of the algorithm, because I was liking and engaging, then I started seeing more serious videos.
Hey y'all, let's make some. Hi y'all, I wanted to respond to this comment real quick. I get this a lot, asking why I was in prison. So I was charged with theft over $200,000 in 2010. I'm guilty of that charge. What happened is at my job, they were doing some shenanigans with the finances, and I actively participated in that. Then I took it a step further and accumulated funds illegally that directly benefited myself. So it was stupid, absolutely the most idiotic thing I've ever done. But I'm home now after serving a little over 10 years. I've been home almost a year, and I'm out here trying to make every day and every moment special. It's not easy. Trying to survive, doing things the right way, and love on my family. So thanks for asking. Great question.
Marci Marie Simmons is the Community Outreach Coordinator for Lioness Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. As a social media influencer and content creator, she has over 280,000 followers on TikTok and is co-host of On the Rec Yard Women's Prison Podcast. Marci uses her voice as a formerly incarcerated woman to educate others about the unique experience of surviving 10 years in a Texas prison. Known for her joyful disposition, which y'all just saw, and openness, she focuses on healing with her family and community as she advocates for those most affected by the criminal justice system. And last spring, as we know, not this spring, but last spring, the Texas Ledge was in session. I know you were there a lot. I was there a lot, and somehow we were just always kind of missing each other. Marci continues chasing her dreams while never forgetting about the women that she left behind prison gates. She also serves on the board for the Second Chancer Foundation. Would you please welcome with me Marci Marie? Make sure this is working. Mike, is that working okay? Okay. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I will tell y'all, what happened was I reached out to this rock star because after watching your videos, I was like, okay, there is so much that we don't know and so much that we need to know, and once you know, you have to do something. So I reached out to Marci to say, you know, like, can you give me some more information? And we had been kind of going back and forth, and then on a total whim, I said, there's no chance you could actually come, and you didn't even hesitate. You were like, absolutely, I'll be there. So let me jump right into this. I called this service What We Don't Want to Know because there's a folk singer who spent time in a men's penitentiary, Brian Bowers, and he has this very searing song. It's called Prison Song. I recommend it, but also don't listen to it in front of your children because it's very real. And the refrain of it is, and the world outside don't want to know. You're on social media, and you gently, you know, for the people who might otherwise avoid it, I just think you're so brilliant because you just kind of gently draw people into this. Cooking videos, how did that come about?
So just the same way that food out here brings community together and brings people together, food inside of prison walls does the same thing. Food is a very important part of our day-to-day life. It's how we socialize in there. It's how we show affection and love for one another. If it's my friend that lives in another dorm and I want to show her some love, I'm going to cook something up and smuggle it across the prison unit to get it to her. So food's really important.
Yeah, it seems like you are drawing in people who might not go searching for videos about the prison system, especially in Texas. In your social media and your public work, do you find that there is a lot that people have no idea about?
I was really surprised when I came home from prison, the amount of, or the lack of the amount of knowledge that general society has about what happens inside. During my incarceration, it felt like people didn't care. And then I came home and started talking about it, and it's just that so many people didn't know.
Yeah. When you went in, were there, like, what did you think you were going to experience, and were there surprises?
Right. Great question, Reverend Joe. I was, and may I say that I follow you on TikTok, and I have followed you for a while. I was really intrigued with the UU church. I have a friend that actually tried to get a UU service started inside of the prison walls unsuccessfully. Maybe a mission we need to re-explore. So now I forgot the question.
Oh, so what did you, I think that most of us, if we have not been incarcerated, like we're thinking of, you know, Orange is the New Black or something, like we don't have that much information. Did you have expectations, and was the reality different?
Absolutely. I grew up with fairly progressive, my parents were self-proclaimed hippies, but they still raised me in a white suburban bubble. And I still had this preconceived notion that prison held bad people, that's what they're built for, to hold bad people. So even as a 30-year-old woman going into prison, I believed that I was going into an institution that was made to hold bad people. I was made to believe that the people inside I needed to fear. I was immediately taken back by the humanity and the sisterhood that I found inside of those walls. Those ladies that I was incarcerated with, and I was incarcerated with trans people as well, so I should say the people that I was incarcerated with, their stories that led to their incarceration, it opened my eyes to so much work that needed to be done out here in our communities, and ways that we can give back to our communities and help some of these folks way early on, childhood and teenage years, that would not end them up. They wouldn't end up in prison, right? And so their stories changed. I learned that the fear really was from administration and staff. That's where my fear lied. By maybe the second year in prison, I knew immediately that was my family in there.
Wow. Yeah, and you still talk about the ladies, and one of the things that's been very interesting to me in your videos is that there was also joy in this because of the people you were serving with. Can you say a little bit about that?
Absolutely. You know, the book that we read, thank you for that. That was a lovely reading. When I got incarcerated, I had 5 children, so that book hit my heart for sure. There's a lot of sadness, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of guilt, and any mental illness that you might have had going in, that's exacerbated. So there's a lot of that. But still, in the midst of all of that, and all of that oppression, and all of those harsh conditions, humanity and the people inside, we had joy. You know, when we were making scalloped potatoes and prison pizza, and we were getting together for someone's birthday, those were moments of joy, and those are moments that I miss from my incarceration.
So something that struck me, I think it was when we were singing the first hymn, the word justice was in it. I remember like hearing people with less privilege than me say, yeah, when I hear justice, I hear just us. Like, what does the word justice mean to you?
Justice means to me that we need to fight back and take that word back. Justice to me, I do feel a sense of oppression when I hear that word. I definitely, you know, I call it our unjust system, our criminal unjust system, the way that it's made to keep oppressed populations, black and brown people, LGBTQ community down and in a cycle of oppression. I loved to see that you guys had a voting table set up. This is incredible, right? Because that's one of the things that we're working towards, and one of our priorities is to get our family members coming out of the prison system, and once they get off of paper, they can vote. And so let's teach them how that looks. What does that look like? So many folks got locked up as teenagers, and they don't have any idea what does civic engagement look like, you know? And so I think that justice is a word that we need to take back. Democracy is a word that we need to take back. That this is our place, right? We own those words, and we need to stop letting people tell us what that looks like.
Here, here. So getting into some of the heavy stuff, you are clear in all of your videos, I did wrong, this was stupid, and as we talk about in this congregation a lot, 2 things can be true at the same time. It is very clear hearing your story that you did not have good legal counsel, and that the punishment you were given was very shocking even to people who you know, knew about this. What was the original plea deal that you were offered?
The first plea deal that my lawyer brought to me, I was in the holding cell at the courthouse, which reminds you of a dungeon. It's underground where I was at, and it's just a dank, dark little room, and you're taken there in handcuffs, and you actually are left in handcuffs in the cell. And I remember like pacing back and forth, wondering what was going to happen, and my lawyer comes to the door, and I'm like, run to the door immediately, and they don't even open it. He talks through the crack to me, and he says, okay, we've got an offer. And I'm thinking, maybe probation. It could be probation, maybe with restitution. You know, that seems like that might heal the community. I pay back the money. I do community service, you know, and this is what I'm thinking. And he says, okay, and he slides the papers under the door, and he says, they're offering 40 years. And
what was the amount of the theft?
$365,000 was the total amount.
What did your sentence wind up being?
20 years.
For that?
Yeah, I got sentenced to 20 years. When it came down to it, Reverend Joe, I didn't take it to trial. I couldn't afford to pay for a trial attorney. And when that final offer, when I finally signed, I was getting, my husband at the time had 2 babies in diapers. I had 3 middle schoolers, and they were threatening to arrest him, even though he didn't know. He didn't know, y'all. I was keeping that from him, and I just couldn't picture how that would look, him in handcuffs and my kids, and I just signed. Yeah, I signed for that time.
Wow. During your incarceration, you were put in solitary confinement. Okay, I know the story. Can you briefly tell why you were put in solitary confinement?
Solitary confinement's actually overused in prisons. We know long-term solitary confinement, just very quickly, Texas houses people in solitary confinement for 3 years or more. The number that they house for 3 years or more, if you took every other state plus the federal government and combined all of those people, Texas houses more than all of those in long-term solitary confinement. It is also overused in short-term solitary confinement for disciplinary purposes, and so that's how I went. The first time that I went to solitary confinement, it was during mail call, and a young lady that lived, an older lady that lived 2 cubicles down from me. It's like cubicle style housing. If you can picture an office cubicle, but the walls are about halfway, and then there's a metal bunk. So I can touch my friend here, and I can touch her here, but we do have this metal wall between us. So she lives 2 down, and she's in her floor with her mail, and she's crying. And I kind of take one step into her housing area. I hug her shoulders, kiss the top of her head. I didn't interrupt her. You know, I was just trying to let her know she's not alone. I'm here, and I go back to my cubicle. Minutes later, we hear keys, ch-ch-ch-ch. And we look up, and there's just 5, 6, 7 officers coming in, all of these keys, and we're like, what happened? What did we miss? Like, I thought, man, did someone fight? And I didn't see it, you know, and we're watching, and my cubicle was upstairs, and they march upstairs, and we're all looking like, who are they going for? And they come to my cubicle. They had seen that on camera. So I broke a rule. By number 1, I took one step into her cubicle, so I was out of place. And number 2, I hugged her and kissed the top of her head, which that's a sex case. I got in trouble for a sex case. And so they handcuffed me and escorted me to solitary confinement over that.
And how long were you in solitary confinement?
That time I was there for 34 days. Yeah, it was pretty terrible. What that means for a mother is I'm not able to call. So the last time I talked to my kids, when I say, okay, I'm going to call again this weekend, that promise was fallen on, you know, it was broken. And then that time I also had a visit. My grandmother came. Do we have time for me to kind of go through that? So I'm in solitary confinement. When you get there, they take your undergarments and they put you in a gown. And it's similar to a hospital gown, but it closes in the back. It's just kind of this big baggy thing. You can see the big armholes that you're not covered. And then they come to my door and they say, hey, Simmons, get ready for a visit. Well, get ready. I don't have any of my property with me. I haven't brushed my teeth in days. I have not deodorant. I haven't been to a shower in days. You know, I don't have a comb. And so I'm like trying to make myself okay. And they bring me this jumper that's a size 4X, and it's falling down. I have no underclothes on, and I'm like, they handcuff you and escort you. I'll just kind of fast forward because there's some other humiliating things. They strip search you, and that I get to visit. And when you're in solitary confinement, your visitation is in this tiny box, and your visitor is on the other side. So there's a glass, and I'm escorted by 2 officers, and I look through the little window, and I'm praying that my kids aren't there to see me like this. And I see my grandmother, who was 78 at that time, my sweet grandmother that came at least once a month throughout my entire incarceration. And they slide open the door, and I step inside. They close the door behind me, and I have to get down on my knees and put my handcuffed hands through this slot. And I'm looking at my grandmother, and you know, her sweet face is looking at me, and I can tell she's just worried, and she's tearing up, and I'm trying to like smile at her, you know, but inside I'm broken, you know, but I'm trying to look strong and tough for her. And when they took the cuffs off and I sat down, it's like you may have seen on TV where they have the phones, and so I'm on one phone and she's on the other phone on the other side of the glass, and she says, "Baby, what did you do?" You know, she just couldn't imagine why I would be escorted by 2 correction staff and handcuffed. You know, and I said, "Grandmother, I broke a rule. You know, I broke a rule. I'm okay. I'm all right. Everything's okay. I'm not going to be in here long." But I wasn't okay. I was far from okay.
You gave someone a little bit of sympathy. It seems like the whole system, rather than rehabilitation, it seems like its purpose is to strip as much humanity from you as possible.
Oh, very much so. I was on a unit that housed disabled persons, and maybe that's not the right term, and so someone correct me if I need to be using a better term. So we had a lot of elderly population. We had a lot of ladies on walkers or in wheelchairs. We weren't allowed to hold the door open for them. That was a disciplinary infraction. We weren't allowed to help push a wheelchair if we saw them struggling to get back from the chow hall when it's 105 degrees outside. And no, we weren't. I'm embarrassed to say how calloused I got to that. By my 10th year, I was so used to not that I was able just to even look past it, like that person didn't even exist.
And I'm going to want to continue talking with you, so I'm going to look over at Daria and Curtis. Are you okay with me dropping some of the music? Okay, so we can continue talking. What are things that people are most surprised to learn about when they watch your videos?
I think a lot of Texans are surprised to learn that most prisons in Texas are not air conditioned.
I was shocked. I was completely shocked. I did not know that.
The prisons are made out of concrete and brick and elements that hold heat. So in the middle of August, it is cooler for us outside than it is inside of our cell. Our dorms have showers also, so it's like this humid, not quite a steam room, but that thick air that's hard to take a deep breath. We see a lot of heat-induced seizures, a lot of deaths. Anybody that has any heart conditions or any prior medical issues, that heat, those summers are very dangerous for them.
Right. Well, let me jump into, what do you think are the most important issues with the Texas justice system that people need to be aware of?
First thing that comes to mind is our housing conditions. We're not housing people in humane ways. The fact is that most people incarcerated come back to our communities. How we treat them and what happens inside of prison walls matter to us. Who do we want working next to us and living next to us and going to the grocery store with us? This is important. People are housed and treated like subhumans, like animals. Maybe worse than animals. If an animal shelter was housing dogs in 130-degree cells, they would be, yeah.
Yeah, so you had a video where you talked about how, I believe it was the pigs or the hogs had air conditioning, but the inmates did not.
Right, the Texas Department of Criminal Justice raises pigs, and one of my jobs was shoveling pig droppings while I was there, and those buildings where the pigs lived in have climate control. It's really disheartening to go back from working that kind of manual labor in the middle of summer and walking into a dorm that you can't hardly breathe in. It knocks down any kind of confidence or self-esteem or self-worth that you had about yourself.
Speaking of farming, we still have legalized slavery, and you worked on a plantation.
Absolutely. A lot of Texas prisons were built right on top of plantations, and that could be a whole nother conversation, right? And absolutely, we have field squad inside of Texas prisons, which has been exposed as losing money. They are not making money or even breaking even. It's just this culture of oppression that Texas can't seem to let go of. What that looks like are, instead of slaves that you would see in an old plantation movie, working the fields, working the crops, now we have incarcerated individuals. And it's that same kind of work. It's very similar. It looks just like those movies. We had armed officers on horseback shouting at us. We weren't chained together, but we had weapons pointed at us, and very real threat if something had happened.
I've heard some of your descriptions, like you're not even allowed to stand up and stretch your back.
Right. When you're pulling weeds, you're put on the end of the row, and you have to stand up and then just bend at the waist, and you pull. And this is how I'll say the conditions, the restroom, feminine hygiene, changing feminine hygiene items in the middle of the field. These things are the reality for incarcerated women every day that are working out there. No water, no sunscreen, no hat. You know, it's very hard, laborious work. And yeah, when we're pulling weeds, we're not allowed to stand up and stretch. And can I just add, in the midst of all of that, those ladies that I worked that field squad with, we were like this, you know, if I needed to stretch my back or, gosh, change my feminine hygiene, my sister next to me had me. You know, she's watching for the laws. I said, hey, I got to stand up, you know, and she's like, okay, and we're working, and she's watching the law, and she's like, okay, do it real quick. And that's the bonds that we made in there, you know, and I think, I know we didn't talk about the organization. I want to just bring it up really quick. Is that okay? The bonds that we made in there, we brought out here. So I'm part of Linus, Justice Impacted Women's Alliance. We're an organization made up of 700 currently and formerly incarcerated women, girls, and gender expansive individuals. Basically, if you did time in a Texas women's facility, we're advocating for you, and you're a part of us, and you're our sister, and we love you, and we get down for you, and we fight behind you. And it was that same community we had in there we brought out here.
So I know you stay very active. You were like in San Antonio yesterday for a march. This summer, what are the most important things that we should take action on?
I mean, it's summertime, and when you're walking to your car and you step in your car, and those few seconds before you turn it on or are able to roll a window down, that feeling is how it feels walking into a prison cell in Texas. And I think that's a huge priority for this summertime. So calls to action would be write your legislators and tell them why are we doing this? These folks are coming home. Why are we risking their lives? Why are we having them causing more mental illnesses, untreated medical? I mean, it's just so much, right? So calls to action would definitely be right, and let your legislators know. And then change begins with conversations just like this. Maybe you heard something today that you didn't know. So start a conversation with others in your community and share that information. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So for people who have friends and family who are currently incarcerated, what are some of the most helpful and supportive things we can do?
Friends and family of incarcerated folks, letters, all of that. Letters, visits, being able to answer the phone, all of that is huge. I know it's expensive, it can get expensive. Letters and mail are everything. Don't let your worrying about what to say or how to say. You don't have to go into this deep conversation about what got them to prison or any of that. You can talk about girl, this happened at work today, or hey, at church we were talking about this. It can just be very casual, but that connection, keeping that connection, keeps incarcerated people grounded. It's so easy to completely submerge yourself into a harmful lifestyle in there, and keeping connected with the outside really helps with that.
And as you've mentioned, when you get out, it's very difficult. I was really, I had a member several years ago who got out, and I didn't know that the whole ban the box. Do y'all know about ban the box? It's where businesses say we're not going to have the box that you have to check if you were formerly incarcerated. Sounds great, but then if you actually make it through to HR, you get a phone call saying, I'm sorry, we actually can't hire you. When you have a family member or a friend who gets out, what are some of the best things to do to support them?
Be patient. Let them kind of lead the conversation around prison. Some people get out and are like me and just need to spill it, and others aren't prepared for that. In that same kind of line of patience, as I wasn't prepared. Like, I think my grandmother had this grand vision of, she had all these, like a slideshow with pictures of everything I've missed for 10 years, and it was just completely overwhelming. And so I would say let them take the lead on that kind of stuff, but immediate needs need to be met. Shelter, clothing, food, oftentimes, even if you're gone only for 6 months, you've oftentimes lost all of those things. Employment. Guys, incarcerated people that come out of prison, they are the hardest workers I have ever been around. My friends work 2 and 3 jobs, and they excel at everything they do. We worked hard for free. So encourage, if you're a business owner, look into that. Encourage people in your community to hire formerly incarcerated people.
And for those of us who don't have friends or family who are incarcerated, other than activism, is there anything we can do?
So just, Reverend Joe, just like you do on social media, when you hear someone telling their story or talking about it, all of that, like, share, comment, so that other people will hear that. That's helpful. Supporting organizations like Linus Justice Impacted Women's Alliance, and giving formerly incarcerated people a platform and a place to speak. This is all important and all part of the movement and part of change.
Okay. I'm going to have one more question, but I also want to let you know Marci Marie has very generously said that she will be out in the fellowship hall, so you can ask her your own questions. But I do want to end on, there's a lot of good stuff that has happened in your life, including, I think, some really surprising things, staying at the home of someone pretty famous, and in your personal life as well. Can you tell us about some of that?
Absolutely. I'll start with the most important. During my incarceration, I met my current wife, and I felt my ring. I almost thought it was gone when I felt that right now. We met in prison in 2017, and we were prison wives, but we are real wives now. We got officially married November 4th of last year. Thank you. Thank you. Watching her grow and our relationship grow has been truly the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's can I brag on her very quickly? She's a recovery peer support specialist, and she's in Denver at a conference, at her first conference, at her first recovery job, at her new job, and so that's why she's not here, but she was excited, and I know she'll be watching wherever the camera is. So talking about my story has opened several doors, like meeting you. This has been a great honor. And also I got a little bit of attention from Rosie O'Donnell. So Rosie contacted me on TikTok, and we actually have a deal. what is it, a 4-season series deal that's still in the works about me, kind of my life, getting out of prison, healing with my family. How does that look with the kiddos? How does that look with my parents and my quirky grandmother, you know? So that's really exciting, and a few other things we've got going on. We have a prison cooking show coming up, and that's going to be on Tubi, and so that's exciting. So many opportunities, speaking at legislations, speaking at the board, hearing from the people that I left behind that tell me, hey, I'm so proud of you, girl. You know, that's everything. That's really, you know, probably more important than, and definitely closer to my heart than anything. So, yeah.
Okay, I have one more. And first of all, I want to tell you, so a couple of years ago in December, you know, we're doing kind of Christmassy services, and I was doing a service talking about the whole concept of dark and light and how our culture, you know, it's white supremacist, and so we often equate dark with bad or dangerous. And you had done a video, I believe it was about after you were free going swimming in the dark, and about how when you're in prison, you're not allowed the privilege of darkness. Is there, other than family, is there some bit of freedom that has really been significant to you?
That was big. That was a big one. Being in a swimming pool. I'm a water girl. I love the water. And seeing the stars. We don't see the stars in prison. You're in stadium lighting all the time, so you don't see the stars. You're not. So that particular moment that you are describing, I was in a swimming pool. We had all the lights off. My grandmother's in the country, so there's no city lights around, and I'm in the water, and there's stars everywhere. You know, that was the opposite of oppression. That was the opposite of incarceration. I had the opportunity to go on this beautiful yacht. I'm a gentleman trying to get some healing programming going for formerly incarcerated folks, and he took me out in the middle of the ocean. And I was sitting on the deck, and there was about 8 of us that had been locked up. And we were friends, and normally you can't get a quiet moment when we're all together, because we're all horsing around and teasing each other and laughing. But there was just a moment out there that we were all completely silent. We were in just complete awe to be out in the middle of that water. And there's lots of moments like that every day. Sometimes I open the front door and I'm like, girl, I'm opening this front door. It's not locked. I can do it whenever I want. You know, I work hard. I work probably 65 or 70 hours a week because I'm so passionate about my work. And then the kiddos that I'm healing with require the whole rest of my time. You know, I stay very busy, but just those moments where I can get up and go outside, man, taking your shoes off and your socks off and walking in the grass. What? I was on concrete for 10 years. I was not in grass. I had not touched grass for 10 years. What? Feeling that dirt, being in the ocean. I got to go to LA. My work has allowed me to travel all over the country, which has been phenomenal. Airplanes, all of that. Every day is you know, and I know we're wrapping it up. Yeah. My friend Denise Cherry, who I was incarcerated with on Lane Murray, is here with me. She was with me my whole 10, but she got incarcerated at 15. She did 33 years. Y'all, she's a champion, you know, and she's out here fighting beside us as well. And just moments like that when I'm with these ladies that are freaking fighters and survivors, you know, I have goosebumps. That's my family. That's my team. And those moments are, yeah, life is good. Life is amazing. And we have a lot to fight for and a lot of people to fight for. And we have a lot of work to do. But there's still those moments, yeah.
Yeah, and I will say by following Marci Marie and her videos, it has the added benefit of things that we take for granted, reminding you how lucky that we are. And where all can they find it? TikTok, of course, but where else can they find you?
I'm all girl, I'm all over the place. My YouTube channel, it's smaller, but I interview a lot of people, and so if you're intrigued in stories like this and you want to hear other people's stories, that's a great place. But you can Google me, all of it. It's Marci Marie 114, and actually I brought some QR codes, so when we're at the back, if you'd like one, you're welcome to have one.
Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Yes. Oh, gosh, thank you. And if you, like I, am feeling a call towards the ministry of prison reform, please send me an email this week. I think that we can do some, I think that we can stop avoiding what we don't want to know and get in there and help make change. So I'm going to skip ahead to the joys and sorrows in our community. This community is a chosen village where our lives are interconnected. And part of the tapestry of this communal journey is sharing the significant milestones, joys and sorrows in our lives, and witnessing the diversity that we hold. One of us may be celebrating a life event, while another is mourning a grief. And there's a beauty in that mosaic, as we're reminded that all of these moments are transient and ever-changing. And Curtis White, our music director, shares the joy. Last Tuesday, he got engaged to his partner of 7+ years. He said yes, and there were a few tears. And Doug Martin shares, this morning, our daughter Tanya and her family woke up to a fire in their apartment. The smoke detector did not go off, but a neighbor woke them. No person or cat was injured. They are very thankful. Barbara Coldiron shares, my friend Jim has been diagnosed with colon cancer. Please hold him in your hearts. And Colleen shares, it is a great joy to have my dog Teddy home with me after traveling by car across Mexico and Texas for 2 days. Welcome. May this community draw closer with our shared experiences as we celebrate life's triumphs and navigate its trials together. So again, I invite you to join me and Marci and her 2 guests who can also talk to you about the work they are doing, the organizations they are a part of out in our fellowship area. Do let them get some coffee. As Henri Frederick Emile says, life is short. We don't have much time to gladden the hearts of those who walk this way with us. So be swift to love and make haste to be kind. And I will turn it back over to you, to Chris and Lindy.
Make this quick. She got me off guard. Faith development. So yeah, as Reverend Joanna just said, we have Marci Marie and her friends that are going to be available for discussion. We have our tabletop questions, and in the Common Ground building, it's UU Summer Camp for All Ages. So today we're learning a camp song, and we're tie-dyeing. And I do have a few extra little shirts if little people don't have a shirt. So see you out there.
Also out there, join in for the new members book signing and cake.
And there's a new exploring membership class.
Did you get that? There's a new exploring membership class. At 11:15. Well, it. 11:35. Please join me in extinguishing our chalice with these words, Apollo. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard. The path is never clear, and the stakes are very high. Take courage, For deep down, there is another truth. You are not alone. It has been a gift to be together today. Please spend the next 5 minutes talking with someone you don't know. Members, be sure to introduce yourself to any first-time visitor we have. You will know them by their paper name tags. And show them where the visitors table and the coffee are. And may we all know the blessings of friendship.